No one saw this coming. Just days after the world mourned the death of Pope Francis, his sister broke her silence. What she shared left even the most devoted Catholics speechless. Hidden truths, emotional memories, and a side of Pope Francis the world had never seen were finally exposed. As tributes poured in from across the world after the Pope's death, many believed they had heard all there was to know about the beloved leader of the Catholic Church. But then, without warning, his sister, Maria Elena Bergoglio, stepped into the spotlight. For years, she had remained quiet, staying far away from the media and keeping her thoughts to herself. But something changed after her brother's death, and what she revealed was not just touching, it was powerful, deeply personal, and at times hard to hear. In this video, we will share everything Maria Elena said, including her brother's final moments, their hidden past in Argentina, the regrets he never spoke about, and the weight he carried behind Vatican walls. We will also explore how the church responded to her message, how the public reacted, and why her words are sparking intense global debate. Keep watching because the deeper we go, the more you will discover things about Pope Francis that most people never imagined. What Maria Elena said at the end left everyone in complete silence. Let's begin. For over 10 years, Maria Elena Bergoglio, the only surviving sibling of Pope Francis, chose to live quietly and far from attention. While her brother Jorge Mario became one of the most recognized religious figures on the planet, Maria Elena remained in Argentina. She avoided interviews and never once used his fame for her own benefit. But after Pope Francis died at the age of 88, something inside her changed. She released a statement that was not filtered by the Vatican, nor edited by any media team. It was raw, it was heartfelt, and it was deeply personal. In her first televised appearance since the Pope's death, Maria Elena said, "He was not just the Pope to me, he was Jorge, my brother, the boy who chased dogs in the yard, the one who made me laugh when I was sick, the one who cried when our father died." Then she paused and added something that shocked the room. "I never wanted him to become Pope. It cost us more than the world will ever understand." That one sentence raised countless questions. What did she mean? What had it cost them? Why had she never spoken of it before? In the days that followed, reporters and believers started digging. What else had Maria Elena kept to herself all these years? And why did she choose now to speak? That was just the beginning. What she shared next made headlines across the globe. And it was not about politics or doctrine. It was about sacrifice, family, and a painful truth that could change how people view Pope Francis forever. Stay with me because what comes next will change everything you thought you knew about him. Maria Elena did not speak from pain alone. She spoke from memory. Her words peeled back the Vatican image and gave the world a rare look into the childhood of the man who would become Pope. Jorge Mario Bergoglio, long before he wore the white robes, was a quiet and thoughtful boy growing up in Buenos Aires. Maria described him as gentle but deeply protective. She said even as a child it felt like he carried a heavy burden. But there was someone before the church who shaped him. Their grandmother, Rosa. She was deeply religious and fiercely principled. According to Maria, Rosa sparked something in Jorge, a fire that burned for justice, for truth, and for repentance. And then came the moment that changed everything. Maria revealed that when they were young, the family experienced a betrayal so deep that it changed Jorge forever. It was not a loss of faith, it was a betrayal within their own bloodline. She said Jorge discovered a painful truth. Their father had a secret second family. Jorge learned this when he was just at 12. From that moment on, everything changed. His innocence vanished. He became obsessed with doing what was right, as if he was trying to cleanse the guilt of those he loved. Maria said this discovery is what pushed him into the church. He did not run to God because he felt chosen. He ran because he was trying to escape the shame. That truth shocked both insiders and everyday Catholics. Suddenly, Pope Francis's humility seemed different. What if it was not only spiritual? What if it was also a way of carrying his private pain? Maria's words hit hard, not just because of what they revealed, but because of what they suggested. That the Pope's decisions may have been shaped not only by faith, but also by deep emotional wounds. And just when it seemed like she had said the most shocking thing, Maria said there was something even more important. Something the Church never wanted her to reveal. What was it? Keep watching, because in the next section we uncover a hidden Vatican file Pope Francis kept locked away, and what it contains could shake the foundations of the Church forever. After Maria Elena's first statements shocked the world and left many with questions, she sat down for one final interview. She was hesitant. Her voice did not tremble from sadness, but from the weight of what she was about to say. She admitted that she had struggled for years about whether to reveal this next part. Because it was not just about her brother. It was about secrets hidden deep within the Vatican. Secrets that Pope Francis took to his grave. "You must understand," she began. Jorge believed the world was not ready to know some things. Not because they were evil, but because they could destroy what people believed in. Maria said her brother had collected a group of documents, letters, and recordings during his time as Archbishop of Buenos Aires, and later as Pope. This collection, known privately within the Vatican as Il Dossier Nascosto, the hidden file, was never released to the public. Not even his closest advisors, she said, knew what was inside. So how did Maria know? She explained that during his final visit to Argentina, just before becoming Pope, Jorge handed her a letter and a small key. "It is a real key," she said. It unlocked a private safe hidden in an archive below Vatican City. In the letter he had written, "If something happens to me and people start asking why I kept silent, tell them to look beyond the gold and marble. Tell them to look where light avoids the corner." Maria never opened the safe. Out of respect for her brother, she left it untouched until the morning he died. Then she opened the letter, and what she found inside was shocking. It was a kind of confession. Written in his own handwriting, Jorge admitted that he had discovered something that shook his faith. He had seen a network of financial crimes, abuse hidden by powerful bishops, and secret agreements between the church and political regimes. He did not name anyone directly, but he left behind clues. Enough to show that he felt trapped between his role as a moral leader and his fear that the truth would destroy the church. The most unsettling part? Maria said Pope Francis chose silence. Not because he agreed with what happened, but because he believed the church would not survive another global crisis. He wanted to fix things quietly from within. But near the end of his life, Maria said, Jorge began to regret that choice. "He once told me," she said quietly, "maybe I should have been the Pope who ended the lies, not protecting them." And it gets even more disturbing. Maria revealed that just weeks before his death, Jorge had tried to arrange for the hidden file to be released after he was gone, but something stopped it. Or someone. The file has since disappeared. Vatican officials deny it ever existed. No one will admit they saw it, but Maria insists it is real, and that those in power are afraid of what it contains. Now the question is this: what was in that file that scared even the Pope? The answer, Maria says, lies in the promise Jorge made on his deathbed. A promise about a truth even more heartbreaking than anything she had shared before. Stay with us, because in the next section, we uncover the story of what Pope Francis asked his sister to reveal about a group of children the church had forgotten. Children he believed were his greatest failure. As the world watched the quiet and solemn funeral of Pope Francis, very few people knew what had taken place just days earlier. In the stillness of his private room, with the soft light of evening falling across the floor, Jorge whispered something to his sister that left her shaken. According to Maria Elena, his final hours were not filled only with prayer. They were filled with urgency. He had one last mission, one final truth he could not let die with him. Maria leaned close to him and said, "You have done everything you could. You have carried more than anyone should ever have to. Let go now." But Jorge, weak and barely able to speak, took her hand. What he said next stayed with her forever. "Promise me," he whispered, "you will tell them. Not just about the file, tell them about the children." Maria was confused. "What children?" He looked at her with tears in his eyes and said, "The ones who were never counted. The ones the church failed. The ones I could not save." Maria said it was the most fragile moment she had ever seen in her brother. He was the Pope, the leader of over 1 billion people. Yet in that moment, he looked like a broken priest, not a powerful man. She said it was as if his spirit had finally cracked. What he spoke about was not a story told in official records. It was hidden, buried, almost forgotten. According to Maria, her brother had spent years trying to bring attention to what he called the quiet tragedies. These were cases of abuse and neglect that had never been written down, never investigated. They happened in small villages, distant parishes, and in places where the church had too little control or too much fear. Many of the victims, he said, were children from poor nations. He believed they had been forgotten, not just by governments or charities, but by the church itself. The very institution meant to protect them had turned its back. Jorge told her that entire case files had been destroyed. Bishops were told to stay quiet. Payments were made to silence witnesses, and priests were quietly moved rather than punished. He tried, she said. He tried to reopen the cases, but he faced resistance. Not just from inside the Vatican, from the local churches too. Many of them feared scandal more than they cared about justice. And then came the part that hurt Maria the most. Jorge told her he blamed himself. He said, "I wanted to protect the faith, but I ended up protecting the system." He believed that the church had become so focused on survival it had lost its soul. He said it had traded mercy and truth for silence and control. Then, with the last bit of strength he had, he reached into a drawer and gave Maria a wooden rosary. It was not fancy, not made of gold or anything rare, just simple worn wood. But it had a story. He said, "This belonged to a boy in Argentina, a boy who came to the church for help. He was turned away. 1 week later, he took his own life. I have carried this rosary for years," Jorge told her, "to remind me what silence costs." Now Maria carries it. She says that rosary is the reason she is speaking, the reason she is breaking the silence she kept for so long. But why is the Vatican ignoring her? Why is there no public answer to the promise Jorge made? Maria believes the answer is simple. If the world starts asking about those forgotten cases, if people start looking into the files that were never recorded, the damage would be too great. She believes there are people in power who want to keep Jorge's image clean. They want to remember him as a kind, gentle pope who tried his best. But Jorge, in his final hours, wanted the world to see the whole truth, even if it shattered that image. Now Maria stands at a crossroads. Should she honor the church's silence, or her brother's dying wish? What she does next could shake the Catholic Church like never before. Inside that wooden chest, Maria says, is Pope Francis's private journal. According to her, it covers the last 2 years of his life. The pages are filled with his deepest thoughts, warnings written in code, and notes about people and events the world has never heard of. What makes this journal important is not just who wrote it, it is what he chose to write when he knew his time was running out. Maria says Jorge started writing daily after a serious health scare in 2023. She remembers a phone call where he told her, "I do not know how much longer they will let me speak freely, but I can still write, and I will write what I cannot say." What he wrote stunned even her. One of the first pages began with this sentence, "The wolves are circling. My silence is no longer peaceful. It is fear pretending to be obedient." From that moment on, the journal became a journey through his final months. Jorge wrote about secret meetings with powerful cardinals. He wrote that they pressured him to stay quiet. He wrote about conversations where he was told not to bring up the past. He was told to protect the unity of the church instead of pushing for justice. But Jorge never stayed quiet when it came to protecting the weak. One entry said, "To hide the truth in order to protect the church is to crucify Christ again. I have seen the faces of the victims. I have heard what they suffered, and yet they tell me to be polite. But I was not made pope to keep secrets. I was made pope to serve God." Maria said Jorge did not want this journal to stay hidden. He told her in one of their last talks to release some of it when the time was right, but that time may never come. Since his death, Maria says she has received requests. Some were polite, some were threats. They came from church leaders and even unknown people. All of them asked for the journal. Some begged, others warned. "They told me it would hurt the church," she said, "that people would not understand, that it would cause pain. But Jorge trusted me. I know now what he meant. The truth hurts before it heals." Then there is the final piece, the most mysterious part of all. Inside that chest, next to the journal, is an envelope. On the front, Jorge had written one sentence: "In case of betrayal." No one, not even Maria, knows what is inside. She has been warned not to open it. Some say it might contain recordings. Others think it could be a list of names of people involved in the hidden battle he wrote about. And now, with Cardinal Matteo Tedesco becoming more powerful, the man Jorge once feared may soon take the highest seat in the church. Maria is torn. Should she risk everything and reveal what is inside the chest? Or should she protect the image of her brother, a man who died with dignity? This is where the story becomes most heartbreaking. Maria said she has received messages from families of survivors, people who were hurt long ago, people who believe Pope Francis may have been the only one brave enough to speak the truth. They believe he may have written names, dates, secrets that others are too afraid to share. For them, this journal is not just a book, it is hope. So now the question is not whether Pope Francis was silenced, the question is whether his words will still be heard, whether his truth will survive the silence that followed his final breath, and whether his sister, the last person he trusted, will let the world read what the Pope left behind.